Hi, welcome back to Lab Rat Sherry. It's another lovely Friday, and this week we are still continuing on our house empty lab scene reviews. So last week we finished the episode from 1 to 7, and this week we are starting from episode 8. With episode 8, we have a organophosphate poisoning case. There are a couple of boys being hospitalized from this poisoning. At the very beginning of the episode, they really thought the boy was having food poisoning, so they did some illegal activities to get the sample for testing, and let's see the clips.
I send you out for exciting new designer drugs. You come back with tomato sauce.
Matt decided to make himself a homemade pizza for a bedtime snack.
Source of botulism, as well as a million other toxins that cause gastroenteritis, cardiac symptoms, and mental confusion.
I'm not so sure about gastroenteritis, but mental confusion. Bring it on.
Don't.
Delicious.
You can clearly see in this clip, they put the tomato sauce in the test and mentioning there is a possibility there will be botulinum in the tomato sauce. That is such a toxic bacteria strain, could literally kill you. That's the same bacteria that we use to produce Botox and for cosmetic purposes. It's crazy, but women can do whatever for the beauty. But here is the thing. A lot of people doesn't know bacteria to bacteria is very different even under the gram stain. Also, yes, I admit most of the time we only differentiate them by positive or negative, which is purple or pink, and bacillus or cocci, which is elongated rods or is a spherical circle. But actually, if you're working on the bench for a really long time, you will start to realize some of the bacteria has such a specialized morphology, even without the culturing. If you're just trying to find a approximate answer, it's actually possible. The botulinum is a very perfect example for this. Although it's just gram-positive bacilli, it actually has a spore structure at one end of the bacillus. If you actually got a real bacteria and stain it, put it under the microscope, this sporing structure will instantly ring an alarm. Then you will start to having this kind of suspicions instead of, I might be, don't know what I'm looking at. Because the normal bacteria that used in fermenting food, the lactobacillus, although it's also gram-positive bacilli, it does not have this sporing structure at the end of this rod shape. So it's not that hard to differentiate in between botulinum or lactobacillus, even just with gram stain. So in this Dr. House's case, in the real life, when they take the tomato sauce from the patient home to the lab and then stain it and looking at it, they actually will be able to tell from the first second they're looking at them under the microscope to know if botulinum is existing in the tomato sauce or not. Next case. This is from episode 11. This boy is having naphthalene poisoning, and the cat who sleeps in the same bedroom with him was dead before this boy got liver failure. At the very beginning of the show, they thought this boy is having lupus liver failure, but turns out it was poisoning. The thing I just showed you is Dr. House dissecting a dead cat that they digged out from the patient's backyard. Well, I gotta say, your nose or whatever the nerve that goes into your nose must be dead in order to do it that way. Because look, I know most of people watching this show right now probably doesn't have this experience of dissecting a dead body. I did, and let me tell you this. The smell is bad. Especially in this case, the cat has been dead for quite a long while. The smell could only be worse. There's no way you can be dissecting that dead cat that calm, that close. So that's not gonna happen. And the other thing is, it actually goes through the entire Dr. House series is there is no doctors in this show ever button up their white coat in the laboratory, which is really terrible, and it's irritates me a lot. Because the whole purpose of you wearing a white coat, unlike the doctors outside talking to the patient, the white coat also serves a social value. But inside the lab, it's purely for functional. This white coat is supposed to protect you and your own clothes from all those dirty germs and anything you would be touching. The lab coat that we're wearing in the lab, when we get splashed onto the white coat that we wear in the laboratories, it's not instantly just soaking wet like your towel. It can, at some level, repellent out some water driplets, and before everything completely soaks through, we're supposed to take it off and put on a new lab coat. Those lab coats, we will never bring it home or anything. Those lab coats are going straight into the hospital laundry. The only thing we will be wearing in and out will be our own clothes or scrubs. Depends on which hospital you're working at and what the dress code is. So inside the laboratory area, you will never see anybody unbutton their white coat. It is the standard and the policy that we button up every single buttons on our white coat. Doctors on the floor, in the other hand, you can frequently see them completely opening it up. I would say that's probably for the fashion purposes. If you are a doctor watching this video and oftenly unbutton your own white coats, just walking around on the floor and totally have a different reason other than fashion purposes, feel free to leave a comment down there. We can have a battle about this. Just kidding. Now we jump into episode 13. This episode, we got a young boy that having two infections going on. One is anthrax, and the other one is leprae, which is the cause of leprosy.
Not cotton. Animal hair. Give me a CT scan.
Enlarged hilar lymph nodes.
Parabronchial thickening.
Pleural effusions.
Less obvious, more scary. Well, the mediastinum doesn't look right.
Slightly widened. Oh, God. It can be transmitted through infected animal hair. But the gram stain would have
No,
shown...
the cefuroxime would have killed some of it, clouded the result.
We've got to get this kid on Levaquin.
This episode, I clipped out two segments. The one I just showed you is the first one about the anthrax diagnosis process. And I'm about to give you all the criticism about this segment. So first of all, the diagnosis of anthrax infections in the real life is not just staring at a CT scan result and then being like, oh, this person must be getting anthrax. No, you would be also looking at the serology results, like the antibodies, and also the bacterial culturing. Well, you might say, well, in the segment you just gave to us, they just said.
But the gram stain would have
No,
shown...
the cefuroxime would have killed some of it, clouded the result.
Here's the thing. Chase went to their secret base and took back a furry ball that might be animal hair. Just talking about the sample that he brought back into the laboratory and they just put it under the microscope for looking. That thing will actually be sent over to microbiology department for culture and gram stain. That is usually a foreign object incubation or gram stain, and it is a very standard laboratory order. A lot of people doesn't know this. In fact, in a real clinical labs, we don't just culture the patients or the sample from the patients. We also do a lot of foreign object culturing and gram stains. Well, of course, most commonly it would be like the needles or the IV place line or whatever the port that goes into your body that has been staying there for too long and then catch an infection. That's like the most common type of foreign object. But if you come into the ED or the urgent care with something stuck in your wounds and causing it can't heal, that whatever stucking in is a foreign object, and they will send that piece of foreign object to the lab for culturing and gram stain. That is a very common practice. So in this little boy's case, when Chase bring back that little animal fur ball, we will be actually culturing it and incubate it and then tell them it is anthrax. The anthrax is one of the bacteria can happily grow on the regular blood agar, which is a standard culture media in a hospital lab. And the other thing is about their workflow. I wouldn't say that's a malpractice, but in the real life, that is definitely a new person type of mistake. When a doctor giving out orders saying, I need to give this kid antibiotics, and I also need biopsy, the biopsy sampling will always happens before the antibiotic administration. And the primary purpose of that is to make sure the gram stain and cultural recovery is not affected by the antibiotics. All right, the next segment is about the leprosy diagnosis.
Clue number 1. If I were Jesus, curing this kid would be as easy as turning water into wine.
Demonic possession?
Close, but no wafer. Clue number 2. Rheumatology Rhone is almost right. It causes autoimmune symptoms. Leprosy?
Yeah, that's real big in the Jersey suburbs.
It's leprosy. Run a fight stain. It'll be positive.
All right, just a sip of coffee. So this leprosy diagnosis is a very classic example of when you did a lot of research in order to write your scripts, but lack the real world experience and didn't consult with somebody from the real world. And then the scene that you produced out just looks kind of funny to a real insider. And here's why. So when they realized the kid's probably getting leprosy and they trying to confirm that, Dr. House ordered a fight stain, which I gotta say, that's very impressive when I see the fight stain in a medical drama show. Because a lot of people doesn't know this, the fight stain is a very specialized modified acid-fast bacteria stain. A lot of medical dramas, they only know gram stain. They don't even know acid-fast exists. So when Dr. House mentioned fight stain, I was like, ooh. But here's the thing, because they never really see the bacteria under scope, so they never went onto this direction. If you are a very experienced lab tech working on the bench for not even 10 years, 5-6 years, there is a special ability you will develop with your eye. Under the microscope, you will start to catching up those weird patterns or abnormal patterns. One of the reasons that leprae does not getting caught under regular gram stain that easy is because it got a waxy coat. And that waxy coat is basically just like a raincoat on the bacteria. It repels off all those watery stains like the regular gram stain. So it doesn't catch the color very good under the microscope. So it doesn't matter if it's supposed to be gram positive or negative, purple or pink, it just won't have a very good color show off under the microscope. And that's why it's very hard to catch it. And here comes to the however part. Hard to catch the stain doesn't mean they are completely 100% transparent. They will still be either faintly stained or having a weird pattern of empty holes on the slides. What happens to a experienced tech when he or she sees this kind of patterns? The first instinct reflex is to try to figure out, either checking with the doctors or treatment team, or go take a brief looking at the patient's chart. If the treatment team is so sure this is supposed to be a bacterial infection, the next thing we're gonna do is actually to make one more slide and put it for the aquardine orange stain. That is a fluorescent stain. The aquardine orange goes straight to stain the nucleic acid in the bacteria. The bacteria will glow super bright orange color. There is absolutely no way you will miss it as long as the bacteria exists. So at that point, the laboratory will be like, okay, so this is a bacteria, doesn't pick up the gram stain, but it does exist because we find the nucleic acid through the aquardine orange stain, and they will kick the slide straight over for the acid-fast staining already. They don't actually need to wait until Dr. House calling the lab saying, I need a fight stain. It will be actually backwards. The laboratory will call the treatment team saying, hey, you are looking for a acid-fast type of bacterial infection. we did this, and that, and this is our conclusion. We will give you an ID soon as we get a cultural media incubation result, but you're looking for something acid fast and shrink your diagnosis range into that little group. We are actually more important than you think in this type of diagnosis. Episode 15. This is the last episode we're gonna do today. And again, I got 2 segments for you. First one is this.
Whatever this toxin is, it's doing the job and fast. How long till we have the next round of test results?
About 4 hours. Too bad his liver's only gonna last another 2.
We're gonna have to get him a new one.
What, in 2 hours?
Dr. Hall's team ran a few liver enzyme assays and then saying this guy's liver gonna shut down in 2 hours. That's never gonna happen in real life. Well, yes, you can predict somebody's liver is going worse or going better by looking at the numbers of liver enzyme, but there is nobody in the real life will be able to tell you exactly by how long the liver gonna eventually shut off. Especially in this show, they actually didn't do that many of the tests. They probably did like 1 or 2 times of liver enzyme and then just go straight to his liver gonna shut off in 2 hours. That's not gonna happen. All right, next segment.
I got a perfect record.
Where did you get the money?
Cancel the thumb screws. I've got our culprit.
Who?
Not who. Who.
Huh?
Thanks for playing along. Chai Hu, Chinese herb, and has quit smoking candy. Reduces cravings, also reduces his white blood count. Oh yeah, he also took enough of them to poison himself. We'll keep him on the pig for a few more hours and then take him off the candy. He'll be fine.
So in this segment, Dr. House put out a diagnosis or a conclusion for this patient saying, well, his liver toxicity is caused by the Chinese medicine, Chai Hu. Which first, let me clear up one thing. The thing that holding in Dr. House's hand, that is not Chai Hu that he was mentioning. That's actually a Japanese brand throat soothing candy. Yeah, I think that's more of a candy thing though. I took it before. It's pretty nice and it does nothing with your liver toxicity and it does not contain Chai Hu. You can still buy it. It actually passed all kinds of Japanese like food drug regulation standards. And most of the time, Japanese food and drug standards, they are more tight than American. So if you see that in the market, you can still buy it. It does not help you quit the smoking though, by the way. And now let's coming back to the main point of why I clip out this segment. There is such a huge misconceptions about traditional medicine or herbal medicine. People feels like if I eat or drink natural stuff, is supposed to be more healing and supposed to be lesser harmful than the Western or modern medicine, which I gotta say a lot of times the reason that you think they can cause less harm is probably solely because they were not concentrated enough. You just didn't hit that dosage. But there comes a other problem is when you don't do the purification and concentration process, a lot of those other compounds or molecules inside the natural stuff, they will be ingested all together with the one that you want it to work. So you actually will be putting yourself in a situation, it's called you have no idea what dosage you just ingested and you have no idea what other things you just ingested. So when things happens, you don't know what actually went wrong. The other thing is, for a Chinese traditional medicine, a lot of formulas, they are formulated with heavy metals like lead or mercury and all that stuff. They may not tell you that's part of the ingredients. And if you eat too much of that, you are getting poisoned. And a lot of times, if that's what you're getting poisoned for, like the heavy metals, well, congratulations. Most of the time we can detect them in the lab because lead or mercury, those kind of poisonings, your symptoms will be quite easy to be identified. And we do have like different tests can figure out which exactly is causing your poisoning. But if you are getting poisoned by herbal stuff, like the chai hu that they mentioned in this show, the specific molecule that can cause toxicity to your liver, we don't have anything to test it. A regular medical lab, or even the reference lab, most of the reference lab, there is no way we can tell which molecule is through what kind of mechanism is causing damage to you. All they can track is if your liver enzyme is shooting up or going down. So when you don't have that piece of information, it's gonna be extra hard to pull you back from the edge. I'll give you a real life example. The lab that I worked at, there was one time we got a young college student coming through the ED middle of the night, and this college student ate mushrooms and got the altered mental status, probably partially hallucinations or whatever. The lucky part for that student is that mushroom was not that toxic, so there's nothing life-threatening. But the unfortunate part is we have nothing to test for it, and we have nothing to treat it because we don't know what causes it. And the only reason they figured out that student was having mushroom poisoning was because the roommate was saying, well, yeah, my friends ate some mushrooms and it's probably poisoning. So be careful, even with stuff that was advertised as natural or traditional. It doesn't ultimately mean safe. That's all for this week's House MD Labs in Review. Thank you for watching. This is Library Sherry. I'll see you in the next episode. And next week, we're gonna go to the last part of the season 1. And don't worry, we will keep doing this House MD series all the way until the Pit series coming back. And then we can do the reaction series again. So stay with me. Cheers.